Hey everybody, welcome back to my videos. My name is Eric McGrew. This video is brought to you by GapArboristSupply.com as well as Elevated Office. And today we are going to be talking about commonly used knots that I use. Now, before we get started with this, I really recommend if you're getting into climbing, or even if you've been into climbing for a while and you find maybe you're just not using more than a couple of knots, grab the Tree Climber's Guide to the Canopy and look through there. There's a bunch of knots that you can use. There's a bunch of swift water knots. There's a bunch of rescue knots. There's a bunch of just whatever knots that you can use. A lot of them are interchangeable. And the benefit to this that I have found is that it helped me kind of get into a repertoire of a few knots that are the most efficient for me, that I find the easiest to handle, the easiest to tie, that work the best in multiple situations. And then in other videos, we'll go more in depth into each knot that I use and why I tend to use it. Now, first and foremost, I'm not saying my knots are the ones to use all the time. The crazy thing about knots is like anything else, a lot of times there's lots of options, so you're not limited to one specific use or one knot per use. Then also keep in mind that as you talk to people, you'll find that some people are using knots they probably shouldn't be, or that work but aren't ANSI approved or OSHA approved or aren't rated for safety. So keep that in mind. This rope here is not a climb line. This is a little 8mm Teufelberger rope. It came with my Captain Hook set, which not super fond of. I find it to be just a little too open. It picks a little bit too much, but that's my own preference. It's what I thought it was, 10mm Sirius. I do use 1/2 inch Sirius or 5/8. I can't remember what size it is. I think it's 5/8 rigging line, which is really good for certain things, but I found this just picked on bark really bad for my Captain Hook, so I got rid of it really quick. Now, this isn't a knot, but a lot of my ropes do have stitched or spliced eyes in them. So that is, of course, one major and common use aspect for attaching devices, carabiners, whatever, shackles, quick links, whatever like that, or quick, what do they call it? Quickie shackles, the ones that have the slick pin in them. And it's going to depend, of course, on what you're using it for, right? So, one of my more common knots that I use, it's not a life safety, it's just one I use for convenience, is going to be a slip knot. So, I use this a lot of times to clip, I'll put a slip knot in the middle of a line so that it doesn't run on me, and I'll clip it to my saddle in like a tool carrier. Do that quite a bit. If you're going, I don't recommend doing this, but if you're going to lift stuff up off the ground, like from your groundy, sometimes you can put a slip knot in it, but you run the risk of it running and then dropping whatever it is you've got. So I don't recommend slip knots for sending stuff up. I do use slip knots a lot though for a stopper knot in a pulley. I don't have my truck with me today. It's in the mechanic shop, I'm sorry. But if I had a pulley here and this was running through a pulley, I'd put a slip knot in it so it didn't run, and I had the leg here, and then when I'm ready for rigging, I can pull it out and then it'll run and take my slack back through the pulley, but it leaves me enough slack to make a face cut or start the back cut or whatever's going on. So a slip knot is something I use quite frequently. I just, you have to know where to use it. So a slip knot is definitely a common knot that I use.